Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's theory video features a topic very near and dear to the hearts of all Star Wars prequels fans. Today we'll be discussing why I believe that Kamino was not completely destroyed during the events of the Bad Batch. And guys, if you like my content, please be sure to follow me on Twitter at RealSWinfinite. During the Bad Batch Season 1, we as an audience get to witness the destruction of Kamino by the Empire's Venator-class destroyers. During this emotional scene, we were treated to empty shots of the normally bustling hallways of Kamino, the halls that featured so many story arcs, and the birthplace of some of our favorite characters, and thus the Empire fired upon Kamino, leaving it in a heap of destruction. So what gives me a basis to believe that Kamino is still salvageable, or better yet, operable? Well, there are a few things we have to examine based on canon and some legend items. First, let's take a look at Kamino's geographical history and layout. Per Star Wars Legends content, thousands of years prior to the events of the films and shows, Kamino actually had land spaces. However, around 19,000 years before the Battle of Yavin, the planet became flooded due to various environmental changes. As Star Wars Atlas explains, these changes drove the Kaminoans to not only excel in their technological endeavors, but also encourage a survival of the fittest mentality, along with minimalist approaches to living and prolonging their societal growth. We can see all of this in Kamino's structures and lifestyles as evidenced in the shows and movies. These changes led to technological adaptations, including the construction of major cities on stilts, the most famous being known as Tipoca City, which is where the cloning facilities were. With that being said, it is completely plausible to ask the question, what else lay beneath the surface? Did the Kaminoans go into hiding? Or were they all transported off-world, leaving behind underwater cities awaiting their return? Let's speculate on this by taking a look at the available canon material. During the Bad Batch, we are offered a glimpse into the Kaminoan secret facilities when Omega leads Clone Force 99 through a tunnel system into private quarters, which were all underwater. We even catch a glimpse of a larger underwater complex in those shots, begging many more questions. During the scene, Omega remarks that these are private facilities not mapped out in the infrastructure, thus hidden from the Empire. And during that same scene, it's important to note that in the secret quarters they arrive in, it's actually an experimental cloning facility where Clone Force 99 was created. So you might not think much of this, but just hear me out. The Kaminoans' #1 export is essentially cloning. During the era of the Republic, roughly between 40 years before the Battle of Yavin, leading up to the Revenge of the Sith, the Kaminoans probably became ultra wealthy due to the number of orders they received for their clone troopers. With that being said, it would be foolish to think that the Kaminoans didn't hide their secret projects as well and other facilities off their main base, like the one laid out to us during the scene I just described. As Star Wars theorists, we have to truly question what we're seeing. What other cloning facilities were present? Why would the Kaminoans put all of their resources into one place when dealing with a clientele that could easily turn their armies on them? When thinking back and remembering how Omega revealed the secret lab, we have to remember that Omega is simply a child. This begs the thought that if a child knew of this secret cloning facility, what other facilities was she unaware of? What else was the Prime Minister and Chief Scientist of Kamino aware of that others weren't? This truly leads me to believe that Tipoca City and other above water cities are literally just the tip of the iceberg when concerning Kamino society. However, I will add the following. If Kaminoans are still present on Kamino and other cities, or the underwater, undetectable parts of Tipoca, we must ask, what is their next move? It would be easy to derive more from Legends, but the Legends content far exceeds what I think is plausible for the new canon concerning Kamino. I think the Kaminoans retreated into the underwater and smaller cities, not contacting the outside again for some time. In fact, I would believe that they secluded themselves for the purpose of self-preservation, as they've become accustomed to with their past and cultural beliefs. With their prime leadership gone, and their capital city destroyed, it will be imperative for them to focus on the recovery of whatever valuables they could find, whether that be physical resources or intellectual property, for the purposes of self-preservation and furthering their society. So with that being said, I do think the Kaminoans are still present, and I do think they still have facilities based on what we saw in the Bad Batch and their history of fortitude and perseverance. And one further thing to add, during the events of The Mandalorian, we see Dr. Pershing experimenting with cloning, more specifically with Baby Yoda. If you notice, Dr. Pershing has a specific scientific uniform that could hint at some possible relations to the Kaminoans, but I'll save that for another video and another time. Guys, do you think Kaminoans are still present on Kamino, or do you think the Empire actually wiped all of them out? I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions. If you like my channel, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and remember, the Force is with you, always.